We got a hot topic today, freight brokers threatening carriers. What could you do? What can't you do? And when does this happen? How does it happen? Let's talk about it. Based on what I've seen and the emails that I receive, usually the problems between freight brokers and carriers happen either when the driver arrives late, when there's waiting time at the pickup, when there's waiting time at the delivery, when the driver arrives to the pickup late, when the driver arrives to the delivery late, and then there are more problems around the tracking. So the broker wants to be able to track the shipment. The broker wants to be able to call the driver. And you'll see that, more as time passes, more and more terms and conditions within the carrier confirmation. If the driver doesn't pick up the phone, there's a deduction of 20%. If the driver arrives late, we're deducting $500. If this happens, then we deduct that. A lot of the freight brokers, they won't say this right at the get-go. They won't say it when it's happening, but after you deliver the freight, they'll be like, oh, we weren't able to track your driver and therefore we're deducting 20% from you. So I want you carriers out there to know that a freight broker does not have the authority to do that. They cannot just deduct because a driver didn't pick up the phone. So let's play this out a little bit differently. So we have the problem. So the problem is that, driver arrived at the pickup late, or in a lot of cases, the driver arrives to the pickup and is waiting 3, 4, 5 hours to get loaded. Under most terms and conditions, if a driver is at the facility for more than 2 hours on a full load, then they start billing an X amount of dollars per hour, whatever that X is. Some companies charge $85 an hour, 95. We here charge 85. I've heard of 95, 105, 125 dollars an hour. But then when you send off that email to the broker might get very defensive and be like, oh, what are you talking about? You missed your pickup. We didn't know he was at the pickup. This is where the escalation starts happening. So same thing in reverse. The broker can call the driver, or the broker can call the carrier and ask him, where is your driver? It's 1 o'clock. Your driver's not at the facility. We try to avoid a lot of these battles back and forth because we have the satellite tracking, so you can actually send the broker, the tracking link of where your truck is at all times. Brokers want to be notified of everything that happens. They are your customer at the end of the day. They are the customer. But sometimes there are some bad apples. Of course, there's also some bad carriers out there. And just like there are some bad carriers out there, there are also some bad freight brokers out there. I will be the first one to admit it. And that's where notes come very, very handy, okay? So I see the escalations, and then in the escalation starts the threats. Okay, so the threats can be along the line of, I will put a freight guard report on you. So that is very damaging to a carrier, those freight guard reports. A carrier can also threaten a freight broker with Google reviews, right? So, carriers believe that they don't have power, but they actually have a lot of power and can be extremely damaging to a freight broker. Yeah, the freight broker can put a freight guard report on you, but there's a lot of stuff that the carriers can do, and a lot of people just don't know this.
You don't want to mess with me? Bring it on!
First of all, deducting 20% for being late, that is ridiculous, okay? And most freight brokers would not do that. Also, when you're establishing a relationship. So I feel like the freight brokers can really push and get their way with owner-operators or with guys that have 1, 2, 3, or 4 trucks, 5 trucks, maybe they can still get their way. But as a carrier gets larger and larger, that freight broker is not going to flex his muscles too much because there's a lot that the carrier can do. What can a carrier do? So number one, a carrier can put a really bad Google review, and that is very damaging. If you put a 1-star review and talk about the situation of how that freight broker deducted 20% from your confirmation, well, I as a carrier that's going to read that review might not want to work with them. Another thing we need to talk about is time. So there's fluctuations within our industry, right? So as times are tough, like right now, we carriers on the load boards, we're begging for loads. But, reversed 18 months ago or a year ago, it was like an auction. Every freight broker was dying to get our trucks. And this is where notes in your system go a long way, or these Google reviews go a long way. If I saw that a freight broker deducted from somebody else, in a Google review when the times are really good, he can say whatever he wants. I'm not giving that freight broker my truck. In our economy right now, where there's more assets than there are freight. So when there's more assets than there are freight, then the broker can dictate terms. The broker can say, I want to be able to track your truck. I need a phone number on file. When times are great and we have 10 options for loads, you better believe I'm not picking that load that he wants my tracking and he wants this and he wants that. So forget about it. I'll move on to the next load. So what can we do as carriers? So number one, the most important thing is we as carriers need to unite. And that is the biggest problem within our industry. If we all knew that ABC Freight Brokerage was not paying their bills, or ABC Freight Brokerage deduct 20%, I mean, that's huge. I would never work with a broker like that. So definitely uniting, and for us carriers to have an open platform like this where we talk or where we communicate or where we share information, that is huge. The second biggest thing that we can do, I mean, that's smoke and gun. I mean, really, in all honesty, if a freight broker deducts 20% from you, hell, I would send the bill to the shipper or the receiver. So my thing is like this: if you're already going to put a freight guard report on me, then I will destroy your relationship with your customer. So if somebody was going to threaten me with a freight guard report, then I would threaten right back and let them know that I am going to pick up your customers and I'm going to bill them directly under the Bills of Lading Act, because you don't have the legal right to deduct 20% from me, especially when you're not being deducted. In most cases, when a freight broker, that bad apple, in most cases when that freight broker says, I'm deducting 25% from you, well, in most cases that 25% was not deducted from that freight broker. I mean, all these tracking capabilities, all these things that they want, these extra, to be able to talk to the driver, that is their own internal demands. It's what they want. It's not what the customer wants. The customer doesn't want you to be able to call the driver every hour and let them know. Customer doesn't want you to track this shipment every hour. That's not, he needs to know, the customer needs to know when it picks up, when it's delivered, and in case of an emergency to be able to track this shipment. But the whole calling the driver, downloading stuff on his cell phone, I mean, that shit is outrageous. All right, so if you have more information or if you have follow-up questions, guys, leave them down below, because this is how I get the ideas to create videos that are gonna help all of us out there. Not only are there bad freight brokers that deduct money from carriers, there are also really bad trucking companies out there that deduct money from drivers. So I will be doing another video, and it's going to be along the lines of the threats that trucking companies do when they threaten their drivers and what they can do about it in order to not get threatened by their company. So stay with me, stay on this journey, make sure you're following this channel. I'm Ronen, R-O-N-E-N, and I'll catch you in my next one.